to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat, and I do not accidentally do Nazi salutes at the end of public speeches. What about you, Danielle?
Nope, don't have that tick. Don't have it.
Yeah, like I'm not autistic. I don't, I've thrown from my heart before. It's never happened. I've been exuberant. I am socially awkward. 44 years old, given a lot of speeches. Not once, Danielle. Not once.
No. But folks, here we are. The Maga King is here. And the question is, now what? Right? Waj, I will tell you that when I saw this from the White House social media account,
Yep.
reposting, congestion pricing is dead, Manhattan and all of New York is saved, long live the king, President Donald J. Trump with a fake Time magazine cover, because he loves those, with him as king and smiling with New York in the backdrop. Just give me first reactions.
First of all, it's not Time magazine. They made Time magazine Trump. Second of all, they did AI. Third of all, I had to triple check it because I thought he was a dumbass. He did it himself. Oh no, it was the White House account that did it. And then finally, I'm not surprised, Danielle. I wasn't surprised. That was my first thought. And the reason why I'm not surprised is I take him literally and seriously. I was one of those people who got mocked initially for saying he would never leave peacefully in 2020. And they said I was hyperbolic. I had TDS. I was right. I take him literally and seriously when he says he wants to be a dictator for a day, that he wants to terminate the Constitution, when he quoted Hitler right before the election and said he's going to punish the, quote, enemy from within, that's us, and unleash, the military. I take him seriously when he's been joking before the election and after the election about staying for a third term. That just happened yesterday.
Yep.
And so when a person like that incites a violent insurrection and says all those things, and then he says, I'm the king, and then promotes an AI-generated image, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. When will the rest of my fellow Americans realize he's never going to leave peacefully? That was my thought.
And then you had this post that he did, right? And the person on top, hey, Elon, stop with your amateur historian tyrant worship and passing shit along like this to Trump. Napoleon was a disaster for France and Europe. Donald Trump posted, he who saves his country does not violate any law. Now, I'm going to ask our resident attorney, Waj, just give us a little bit of history, a little bit of legality behind this Napoleon quote.
Yeah. So as still a licensed attorney, and I'm going to be renewing my California bar license in a week. Haven't practiced in a long time. That's not how the American government works. We have a concept of separation of powers, 3 co-equal branches of government. The reason why we have that, Danielle, is because the founding fathers actually rebelled against a monarchy, the British Empire. No taxation without representation. We were tired of being colonies without self-determination, which is why we have a representative government, a democracy, or as Republicans say, a republic. Either way, not a monarchy, no kings, no emperors, no queens. As far as emperors go, that was Napoleon, who decided to make himself emperor, right? Went against democracy. Unlike Trump, was actually a brilliant military strategist. But they always forget when they quote Napoleon is they always forget how he ended up in exile without power, and then he died. And then another person who used that quote was Anders Breivik, a Norwegian terrorist who killed 76 people, a white supremacist who left behind a 1,500-page manifesto where he cites a lot of the right-wingers and their anti-Muslim, and anti-woke, and anti-immigrant ideology. And 14 years after he did that terrorist attack, we now know there are other terrorists who have been inspired by him. So those are some of the people, Danielle, who have used that quote.
So here's the thing, because this is not new, folks, right? Like, this is not new for them to be going into the dustbins of history and pulling out the emperors, the kings, the dictators, the authoritarians that they celebrate, right? That they want to emulate. There is something of a level of hubris here, Waj, that I believe has them think that they're going to do it successfully this time, that they are going to be the ones who will go down in history as the successful emperor kings that exists for millennia. And I saw this post on Instagram, and I talked about it on the Danielle Moodie show this week, where it said something to the effect of, the world is littered with the remnants of empires that thought that they would exist forever. Statues, cemeteries, broken down coliseums, of these ego-led, right? Ego-led empires that thought that they would exist forever. So when you think about the way that their ego, their hubris is leading their actions right now, do you think that they have what it takes to be successful for a millennia?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm reading 2 books right now, which just
Mhm.
I don't know why. I just felt inspired to pick this up from my library. Hitler's First 100 Days.
Oh.
I recommend everyone read it. It tracks in such a frightening way that you think that they were talking about what's happening right now. But the reason I bring it up based upon what you just said is I'm in the first 50 pages. Hitler said that he would have 1,000-year Reich. 1,000 years. Now we have the power. We're going to rule for 1,000 years. Steve Bannon, if you remember, during Trump's first administration, said, all we need is the whites to come after us and a few people of color, and we're going to rule for 40 years. Do you know how long Hitler's Reich lasted? You know how many years, Danielle?
How long?
13. After 13 years,
But
like a
my God, the
coward,
devastation.
well,
But
yeah,
please continue. Yeah.
but after 13 years, like a coward, him and his wife and other Nazis were in the bunker and killed themselves. So yes, 11 million people, the devastation, the horrors, the trauma. That 1,000-year Reich, 13 years. Napoleon, exiled. Mussolini, bye. Right? What we just saw just a few months ago, and I think we have to bring it up. Assad, I'm going to stay there forever. It's my home.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was talking to Syrians, and Syrians said, we thought this would be a 50, like these are Syrians on the ground trying their best, through different ways of resistance, right? We're preparing for the next 10, 15 years. There'll probably be another 10, 15 years until he leaves. You know what happened, folks? Within 2 weeks, just like that, Assad's gone to Russia. And now his wife has divorced him. Things change, Danielle. And I
Mhm.
feel these people are incompetent. I feel that these people are too arrogant. I feel these people have hitched their ride to an aging, decrepit, corpulent, bloated lizard king. I feel these people have attached themselves to a completely unhinged Elon Musk billionaire who's deteriorating under the pressure. And I think we have a nice clip or a photo. So
Mhm.
I think this will not last long. However, based on what you just said, the damage the damage that they will do to this country will be, I think, will last for our lifetime.
And I was going to say that I wanted to bring it up because folks, Waj and I, we connect on a regular basis, and obviously we connect before we go live, and and asking ourselves, like, how long, right, do you really think? And it's one of those things where it's just like the person that is 6 months into the 100-year war says, when do you think that this is going to end, right? And I think that the understanding that we're holding is that all empires fall, right? America as an empire is crumbling before our eyes. It
Mm,
took 250 years for that to happen. However, these kings, these dictators, some of them do rule for decades upon decades upon decades. So we're not trying to lighten the mood here and
no,
say that, like, you just hunker down and muster through. We're just putting some context into the fact that everything will eventually sunset, right? And so, but the actions that we take during this time are going to be extraordinarily important. But speaking of the deterioration that we are seeing, I have the photo. So here is Elon Musk at CPAC. Elon Musk was sitting on stage. Who was given the interview?
I
don't know. One of it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. One of these Trump, Fox, whatever types is giving the interview. Elon Musk is sitting up there. You see him, he has his dark sunglasses on. I don't have the video, but he is absolutely slurring his words.
He's baked.
Because he is high as fuck. Like high, okay? And slurring his words, and then he brings out a chainsaw. And
no, but remember, first he goes, "I am meme. I am meme," and the host was like, "Ha ha ha ha."
Right, that meme. Kind of laugh.
And then he's like, and then he slurs his words. He's wearing glasses inside, I think, a chain. And then at the end, as he's exiting, like, you're right. Yeah, thankfully he didn't, like, start the chainsaw, but then he waves around the chainsaw, and I think they were like really proud of him. I don't know, but you have to come on now, Danielle. I think there's some quiet buyer's remorse within MAGA. They're like, whoa, we didn't vote for this.
I mean, so here's the thing. Frankly, I don't know, and I don't care whether or not they have buyer's remorse. But what I'm looking at is, Aaron Rupert, who I follow, saying wearing sunglasses inside and following an event where he at times had hard time speaking coherently. Elon Musk walks off the stage at CPAC stage, waving around a chainsaw. This is the guy currently running our government. Congrats, America. And then I'll follow up with, you played yourself. Like, what in the entire fuck is this? And then this Musk chainsaw represents. Go ahead, Waj.
Represents Americans losing jobs for billionaire tax cuts. That includes thousands of federal employees who are now losing their jobs. Farmers losing farms. Why? Because during the illegal freeze of the funds, guess what that affected, folks? Farm subsidies. Red states. Whoopsie. 5 planes crash after FAA firings. That total number, I think, is up to 9 now. The highest number of U.S. fatalities in U.S. airplane collisions in the first month of any presidency. And also, I want to say 2 days ago, an FAA employee said that there are 5 FAA employees, Danielle, doing the work of 14 FAA employees. What do you think is going to happen? Oh, well, vets losing their care. Yep. Vets are finding out. Slow tax refunds based on all the IRS firings. Cancer research has been cut. They also let go, as of 2 days ago, the folks at the NIH working on dementia. Kids, pregnant women, low-income family, and Trump supporters getting screwed by Medicaid cuts. And I also want to add the cuts to SNAP, which is why you see on TikTok all these white women who voted for Trump saying, I didn't think they'd do this. And also, what did I forget? Oh, yeah, FEMA. They're going to cut FEMA. So good luck, red states, during your tornadoes and hurricanes, because you depend on the blue states to subsidize you through FEMA and other organizations. Did I miss anything, Danielle? I'm sure I did.
I mean, I'm sure you did, but like the list is extraordinary. And I think that, again, it goes back to, a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Jonathan Metzl, his book, his first book, Dying of Whiteness, which really laid out what white folks are willing to sacrifice in order to ensure that other people are in pain. So long as other people, cuts to 9/11, survivors care. And now you have 7 Republicans, thank you, Karen, 7 Republicans who sent a letter to Donald Trump, and I assumed it was much in the voice of Oliver Twist, that said, please, sir, can we have our funding back? We didn't expect you to do this. But this is the thing. They thought it'll just hurt the blacks and the browns.
There you go. That's key.
We don't like the blacks and the browns and the trans and the gays and the Muslims and the feminazis and the this, that, and the other thing. You're going to hurt them. But they don't realize, going back to this photo, when you use a chainsaw instead of a scalpel, everybody can get it. Every fucking body.
Win stupid prizes. Those are the stupid prizes that you won. But you said something that I brought up also, and I want to bring up that's important, is now there are videos, a lot of videos of Trump voters, some of them who are still Trump voters, some of them who are regretting their vote, saying the following: I didn't vote for this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he'd come after fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? I voted for him to punish the blacks.
Yep.
The darkies.
Yep.
The woke. The women.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted him to go after my enemies. I supported his cruelty against the libs in order to feel great again. I thought he would go after them and make them hurt. But I'm a loyal Trumper. Why did he take away my food benefits and my food subsidies? And I think this is very important. And the reason why I say this is I had this conversation last night, Danielle. I want to ask you again. I had it with Francesca Fiorentini, an ally. And I said, listen, Francesca, when I see this, and I'm not a sociopath. I don't need people to suck it. You know, I might look sociopathy, but I'm not a sociopath. I want people to have cheap eggs. I want people to have healthcare. Yes, right. Even that. I want them to have economic opportunities. I want them to live safely and, like, you know, not swim because they've lost their home due to climate change. But that being said, after 10 years, it's not the first time he's running. It's been 10 years. People voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd, who chase after Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny, if you ever watch those cartoons, I love those cartoons growing up. Bugs Bunny's just in his like little rabbit hole eating the carrot. They're always chasing him, and then they create holes and traps for Bugs Bunny, and then they
fall but they fall in it.
So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not gleeful, but at the same time, if my enemy, and they say they're my enemy because they want me to suffer, and they voted for this man after he effed up, after he told you exactly what he was going to do, and they voted for this knowing. See, she was much more generous than I was, which I thought was interesting. But I'm like, you know what? I don't need them to suffer, but I'm in a kind of a FAFO moment. And maybe I'm in the type of moment that says, you know what? I won't kill you. To quote Batman at the end of Batman Begins, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you either, Daniel.
I mean, it's just, you know, it's exquisite, which brings us to the latest poll numbers. And I want to show folks this, right? Trump approval, disapproval rating. 45. Oh, it is 45% approve, 53% disapprove. More than half disapprove. Musk approval, disapproval rating. Mind you, we didn't vote for this man, so I'm confused about why he's even in this poll to begin with. But nonetheless, Musk approval, disapproval rating. 34% approve, 49% disapprove. Who should control the next Congress? 54% say Dems, 41% say ours. Should Trump obey courts that say his actions are illegal? 84% say yes, 11% say no. Let me ask you this, Waj. In fascist regimes and dictatorships, how much do polls and people's opinions matter?
Polls and people's opinions and civility and the rule of law and decorum don't matter shit, Danielle, right? The rules, when Chuck Schumer says this is against the rules, the people are aroused. They're being aroused right now. Steve Bannon and Elon Musk and Donald Trump are saying, all right, we have power. Cry more, lib. What you going to do about it? We have power. We're going to punch you in the face. What are you going to do? No, that's not fair. We're going to punch you again. Don't do that. Yet we're going to kick you in the balls. Oh, my balls. So that is Chuck Schumer and the establishment Democrats, and that was Biden. I'm sorry to say this.
Yep.
And that was the Democrats who did not understand this ball game. And what I've been saying for a couple of years is they're not built for this fight. They're not made for this moment. And what does rules, decorum, civility mean to a fascist who doesn't care about any of that and now has all the power? They don't care. And the compliment I've always given Republicans, and I will, they know how to flex power. When they get power, they flex it. Democrats do not. Republicans don't give a shit about public opinion, right? The first time Donald Trump was elected, remember that? They're like, Lindsey Graham openly said it. Our donors have said, you better give these tax cuts or you can't come back to us for money. So we're going to do these tax cuts. What you going to do about it? And America is like, please, don't do that. Like, shut up, Oliver Twist. I'm going to punch you in the mouth. So now we're seeing, you know what we're seeing, though? It's finally there's a realization, and check it out. Women of color. Who's out in the front line? Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, to their credit, Chris Murphy, Van Hollen, Raskin,
Garcia.
Garcia.
Yeah.
But who's slapping them in the face? Crockett. In the face, punching them in the mouth every day. She gets it. But this is where we are. So to answer your question, they're going to say, cry harder, lib. We have the power. What you going to do about it?
And so to that point, just another quick poll finds that more Americans view Trump as a dictator than they do Zelensky. Obviously, you know, earlier this week, Donald Trump called Zelensky a dictator and said that he started the war. So essentially, Zelensky invaded himself and not in Putin invading Russia, like we all saw with our own eyes on television and all over social media. But again, now that folks are like, oh my God, it's been a month and everything is so bad. Here's the thing. People waking up and developing a sense of consciousness will always matter, right? Because we are more powerful together than we are apart. But the fact that we even have to be in this place because millions of Americans chose cruelty over compassion, chose like egregious, egotistical, misogynistic, racist behavior over empathy, still, Waj, really pulls at my heart. Because there are some days that I wake up and I'm like, we didn't have to be here.
Danielle, you know, I briefly mentioned this to you on Mary Trump's show on Tuesday. We couldn't do the show on Monday because I came on a red-eye flight. I came back like at 9 a.m. from the Bay Area. And to go off of what you said, I was invited to a private fundraiser, very wealthy community in the Bay Area. I went there, about 100 people. A lot of them are immigrants, people of color. Most of them voted Democrat. Some of them voted Trump. Some of them sat out. Some of them voted for Jill Stein. When I was listening to them, they kept repeating Republican talking points. And you know what they said? You know, you'd think Gaza was there, but guess what they landed on? Across the board, the people who either didn't vote, sat out, voted Stein, or voted Trump. Want to take a guess?
What?
The gays. They're turning my child into a gay. They're making my kid trans. And I said, who? It's too much. The libs, it's just too much. And I'm like, can you tell me? And I've said this before on the show, I'll say it again. Every time I've heard this, I always try my best. I'm very calm. I'm like, can you name me one time in your life that a trans person has ever personally done anything to you? Well, not to me, but the kids. Can you name me one time?
One time. Yep.
Has a trans person done anything to your kids? No, but I've heard. Is your kid gay? No. Is your kid trans? No. But it's just too much. So I sat there, and this is what was so painful. I spent 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, not a half hour, not a speech, not a slideshow. I connected the dots for people, Danielle. And I said, Republicans spent $200 million on the trans boogie person, the trans boogeyman. In the past,
less than 1% of the
1%
population.
Last time they did it against Muslims, they've done it against Japanese Americans, the undocumented women.
Mhm,
They used
mhm,
it as a Trojan horse. And then I
mhm.
told this audience, where there were a lot of Muslims and people of color, who do they hate more than trans? And then the same people are like, I'm like, yep, congratulations, you got played. This is what happened after just 5 minutes. I had to spend 3 to 5 minutes on these people. Guess what they said? All of them.
Oops.
Oops,
Yeah.
you're right. We
Mhm.
got played. Now what do? We effed
I
ourselves, Danielle. It's so painful. We effed ourselves, and she only lost by 1.4 percentage points.
and here's the other thing too, and I want to tell folks, if you don't know, like, one, as I say, and people who are new that are watching, I am a Black queer woman, right, who has spent a majority of my career in the LGBTQ movement, like working with movement leaders, organizations, fighting on behalf of marriage equality. That's how I got my start in media. And I will tell you that Democrats have done an extraordinarily shitty job talking about trans people. They have done an extraordinarily shitty job of being just as reactionary, right? And are just as bad in many ways as Republicans are when it comes to trans people. And here's the reason why people are so terrified of trans people, because they have spent their whole lives buying into a binary and buying into a fucking lie. And trans people, by virtue of their very being, represent freedom to be. And freedom scares the hell out of those that want to walk through their lives asleep. So if you, right, can muster the courage to live your truth, then the question is, what the fuck have I been doing? Right? And rather than admit that we have all been force fed a lie to keep us in our gender roles, to keep us in our place, they would rather stomp out the very existence of people that are living, walking, breathing proof of what courage in action and in body looks like. That's why they hate trans people. And so I encourage folks, if you do not know, wonderful actress Angelica Ross, who is also an activist, go on to her Instagram page. In an interview recently, she is a out Black, beautiful trans woman, and she just broke it down. And folks have been breaking it down in so many ways about why the trans people, why do they hate trans people so much? Because you don't know courage until you know what it is like to walk and live in your truth in a world that fucking hates you and will murder you. There's just recently this horrific story of a trans man that was tortured and brutalized for 2 months before he was killed. And why do things like that happen? Why do people see such a lack of humanity? Because of the $200 million, Waj, you just said the Republicans spent to scare the shit out of people, about 1% of the population.
They, them. Trump is for you. Kamala's for they, them. Every Sunday after every football game. And, that was beautifully stated, Danielle, and as our community said as well. This is nothing new. Since we're talking about fascism and fascist regimes, in every fascist regime, what people sometimes forget, and they shouldn't, is misogyny and anti-LGBTQ rhetoric is part and parcel of any extremist movement, whether it's white supremacists, the KKK, right-wing fascism, even Al-Qaeda. There is an order. There's only two, good and bad, simplistic. These minorities have to be culled. They're a perversion. Women's role is in the home, in the four corners of the house. They are the incubators of future princes and warriors. They must be protected. They must take care of the husband. The husband is an alpha man. He thumps his chest. He goes and chokes someone out in the UFC ring, goes buys meat from Safeway. LGBTQ, non-binary, anything that confuses us must be culled. That's what the Nazis did as well.
Mm-hmm.
Minorities that don't look like us must be culled. Books and stories that go against our master narrative must be banned.
And
This is
burned. Yep.
and burned. And this is the thing, folks. What was one of the first executive orders that Trump did? There are only two sexes. Now, that is incorrect. A majority of human beings, yes, male, female. But this is the rub. No matter what you do, and I said this before at the meeting, I said, you voted for Trump. Did the trans disappear? Did you kill the trans? Are they gone? Nope. You played yourself and you killed yourself. Still 1% of the population is trans. There's still a few people who are intersex. I'm sorry they exist. XYY, XXY, right? There are some people who are non-binary. You add it all up, it's like 2 to 3%. The majority is male, female. But what you can't do is erase them. And the saddest part was, Danielle, a lot of these people I was talking to, if I may, I know we have a lot to talk about, but I'll say this, my interaction with trans. Okay. My family's from Pakistan. I've gone to Pakistan several times growing up. In Karachi, bubbling, huge urban city of Pakistan, I encountered trans people when I was 4 years old. Why? Because in Karachi, Pakistan, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, they're called hijras. They're part and parcel of society. So you could go to Friday prayer, you'll come out, you'll see a bunch of kids, you'll see some hijabi women, you'll see people with beards, you'll see 4 or 5 trans folks, straight up hijras walking, right? So first I saw it, I'm like, what's that? But then I went back to Pakistan, gone many times. Guess what, Danielle? I didn't become hijra. My cousins who grew up in Pakistan were in Pakistan, the trans folks, there's much more openness. There is an acknowledgement of a third gender.
Yes.
Gender on the passport. In Pakistan, people, they had trans rights about 6-7 years ago. In the last year, though, the religious rights trying to roll it back. But just to show you, in Islamic Republic of Pakistan, you could go to Karachi. I could take you to Karachi right now. You'll see like 7 or 8 trans people just literally all out, decked out in like saris, makeup. And there'll be a bunch of religious people, kids, my aunt, it's just whatever. They're like, okay, whatever. They don't care. So why, oh, why, Danielle, in the most advanced free country, did people freak out?
But that's it. That's the biggest rub and lie, is to believe that America was ever anybody's advanced and free country. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to remind ourselves that the religious zealots that came to America, right? The Puritans, like, they came here because they wanted to establish a place and state that allowed them to be able to live out their fundamentalist Christian religion that they wanted to spread far and wide, right? It wasn't, oh, they came here because they wanted freedom of religion, like, because they were the ones that they're the persecutors. Like, I feel like folks don't get that. They're like, oh, our forefathers like believed in freedom of religion. I'm like, they were fucking fundamentalists, right? They came here and then they wiped out indigenous population, indigenous practices, right? Because they were a threat to their narrow, scarce place of being. Ugh.
And you know what? Now we're in it. And all these people succumb to the lie, $200 million, repeating Republican talking points. The Trojan horse of trans gets us this, Danielle. Break this down.
I was good. I was like, that's what so folks, about half, right? Which is so disgusting, because again, what was Trump able to do? Unify people around who to hate, right? And unfortunately, which goes across race, religion, blah, blah, are undocumented people, right? I did it the right way. Those folks. And so you have here about half, right, of Americans support mass deportations, but many other of Trump's policies are unpopular. So if you see here, the gray are U.S. adults overall, the blue are Democrats, the yellow is independents, the red is Republicans. Trying to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants, 50% the population is totally okay with that. Obviously, 75% of Republicans. Ending DEI programs in the federal government. Folks, nearly 50% of the population is okay with that, right? In gray. Banning transgender people from serving in the military. You see where that begins to fall, which is coming now below into the 40s. But again, people who want to serve their country, who are patriotic, who want to give their service, their life, their time to serve this country, and you're saying, no, we don't want you, is, anyway.
You can go fight. I ain't fighting. Let them fight.
Pardoning people convicted of nonviolent crimes related to January 6th, not popular. Laying off large numbers of federal government workers, not popular. Shutting down the agencies that provide humanitarian aid in low-income countries, not popular.
That's USAID, folks.
Blocking health agencies from communicating without approval from a Trump appointee, not popular. Pardoning people convicted of violent crimes released on related to January 6th, Capitol riot, not popular.
Folks, it's only been a month. And when it comes to the undocumented, can I just spend like a second on that first few? Listen, throughout U.S. history, there's always been about 20% support for the worst of the worst. Segregation, slavery, Nazis, right? I believe no matter what happens, if you look at that red line, no matter what happens, literally, if there's a flood and God himself from heaven says, I'm sending you an ark, and Noah comes back and the rest of us get in an ark, there'll be about 25% of Americans who say, I'm going to be with Trump on the land. Okay. So that's how it's going to be. We've lost about a third, maybe 25% of these people for our lifetime. It's always been this way. When it comes to the 50%, this is where sometimes, Danielle, going back full circle to what I thought about, how do I feel about these people who voted for Trump? Sometimes human beings have to fall in the ditch. And then you have to crawl out with scars. And you remember the wound and the scars. And you go, yeah, I made a mistake. Once you get rid of these undocumented immigrants, folks, who is going to pick the fruits? Who's going to work in construction? Who's going to take care of all these rich white people's kids in New York and the Hamptons? Who's going to clean their homes? Who's going to be cooking? Because these folks do a majority of the cooking in all the restaurants. Folks, what's going to happen to the economy considering these undocumented people give about $100 billion worth of taxes, which Trump doesn't do? They spend the money in their local economies. They're net positive, unlike Donald Trump, who went bankrupt and created a huge deficit. And they commit fewer crimes than people like Donald Trump and those people born here. What's going to happen to the country, to the local community, especially in the red places where some of the most broke, meth-addled, toothless whites would rather die than ever pick an orange or some fruit? No matter what happens, these whites in these red states, even the whites who live in the red states, say that these whites will never, ever, ever do the jobs that the undocumented are doing, okay? Even as they're dying, Danielle, they ain't gonna do it. So what's gonna happen to you, red states, once you kick out these undocumented, and not just the undocumented, also their citizen-born children. Tom Homan, the border czar, said he is open to not separating families. Well, why was that, Tom Homan? We're gonna deport the kids too, and to where? Guantanamo. Where Kristi Noem, with her dumbass hat, a new hat every day after she gets new Botox every day, she said, yeah, we're open to having families and kids be temporarily placed in Guantanamo. When that happens, Danielle, I think people are going to say, I didn't want kids to go. I thought it would only be the bad ones.
Well, here's the thing. I believe that they are hoping to reinstitute slavery. So their whole thing is like, okay, so we get rid of these folks, but then the blacks and the browns that are here, we're locking them out of jobs, locking them out of opportunities, locking them out of places, and locking them into being a permanent third class. So then they'll be forced into having to do what? Sharecropping, going back into a place of being locked on the land. This is the hope. This is the desire.
Absolutely.
Right. And for folks, I feel like it was some pastor who said that he was asked, how bad do you think it can be? And it said his response was, decent people with morals cannot even fathom how cruel and inhumane parts of the world and our humanity can be. Right? But to that point, here is America's new FBI director, conspiracist, insurrectionist, don't let the skin fool you, white supremacist, has now published an enemies list of Americans he wants to come after. I'm hoping this will play. Actually, Waj, see if you can pull up that the Patel Bannon video. See if it'll play on your side.
20th of January of 2025. Do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Cash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
Yes, this is literally.
Yes, actually, it is. It is actually 100% accurate.
Thank you for your confession. That was done before he was confirmed. That video was shared during his confirmation hearing. In addition, like Danielle said, also a January 6th truther, also assembled the January 6th choir. That's him. Also has participated in the YouTube shows of straight up anti-Semites, had an enemies list before he became nominated, has zero experience as a law enforcement agent, is a former public prosecutor and defender, zero experience, zero field experience. So that means the FBI agents will probably not respect him. Why should they? But he's only been put in place there because he promised, just like you heard, that he has an enemies list. And he will go after media critics. So good luck, Danielle, to you and me, politicians. And what he described, Danielle, was, wait for it, a purge of the FBI and law enforcement, and replacing them not with individuals who take a code, a pledge to the Constitution, to a law and order, the people who bend the knee to King Trump. I think that is tyranny.
So I just want to say some of the people that are on this list, because I know it's difficult to see, are our former Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, Steve Bolton. You have Robert Mueller, Bill Barr. You have
Bill Barr went against Kash Patel, right? You know that, right?
He so said he was there is like there is a list, that goes through people who have spoken out against Donald Trump and MAGA, who were once inside MAGA, and then those that are known Democrats and those that are regaled like Lloyd Austin, right? So here's the thing that I said to Waj before we came on air. I said, my belief, and I want folks to like really pay attention to this. My belief is that they are going to go after and arrest some of the most high profile people that will literally have us, like we did on January 6th, clutching our invisible pearls, mouths agape on the ground, saying, how could this be happening? We are going to see an orchestration, right? A pageantry that they are going to put on to bring down some of the most high profile politicians, media personalities, networks, to make an example of them. Folks, once you see that happen, pack your shit up. That's all I'm going to say, because if they are able to come for those most high profile, wealthy, politically connected folks and have them in shackles, right? Do you remember what they just did? What Eric Adams just did in New York with Luigi, right? Like, look, we caught the grand wizard of the universe. Like, that's the kind of parade and spectacle that MAGA wants to create and will create for the shock and awe of it. Pam, you're asking where to, Danielle and Waj? Like, folks, I have said this before on this show, on the Danielle Moodie show. I understand everyone does not have the privilege, does not have the economic ability, has children, have homes, do not have the ability to pick up and just go. But I encourage everyone to start thinking about how, if you cannot leave, what will safety look like in this new world order that we are in, where Kash Patel has an enemies list that will continue to grow over the years. And what will be wild, Waj, I think, is when it's like that Spider-Man meme where they just start attacking each other, because I just saw
it just happened.
Right, and I like, did I post it? Oh yeah, I just saw. So this Republican congressman, Troy Balderson, who reps a Republican plus 18 district. It's redder than fucking red. You don't have to be concerned with it turning purple in your lifetime. Says that President Trump's executive orders are, quote, getting out of control. Went on to say, quote, Congress has to decide whether or not the Department of Education goes away. Not the president, not Elon Musk. Congress decides. And down in the comments from this post was a post from another Republican congressman that said, primary him.
Listen, did you see that video? I know we talked about it. We couldn't bring it up. There's a video of a town hall, Ruby Red District, all white folks, all Republican voters who are pissed off, asking who's in charge, and literally telling this Republican congressperson, go and support us and stand up for us. He goes, you don't think I go there and support you? They're like, no, it's Musk. And then one lady says, don't bend over for him. Packed. So check it out. It came out yesterday. She goes, don't bend over for him. So listen, these Republican whites, you know what? They're getting pissed off. Me and Danielle, we're going to drink our chai. You all, take care of it yourself, because guess what's happening, folks? Cuts to jobs. He just announced last night that he's going to most likely take over. Well, he's going to take over USPS, which means what? Privatizing USPS, which means what? Say goodbye to mail-in ballots, but also say goodbye,
to your
red state
mail
voters.
like to your mail.
to your life-saving medication, to your businesses, because those prices are going up, which means people are going to die. Elon Musk yesterday, according to the Wall Street Journal, is trying to extort big companies, right? He said, you better advertise on X or else I'm going to run to Trump and go after you. That's extortion. So much for the free market and competition and capitalism. Whoopsie. Talked about him trying to defund FEMA. Okay, disaster recovery. When those hurricanes hit, who's going to get effed? You are. He froze funding. There goes the farm subsidies. Going after Medicaid. The budget came out and they're doing 10% cut to Medicaid. 20% of Americans rely on Medicaid. Guess who does? Red state folks. And to make America great again, just icing on the cake, God being unsubtle, Canada defeated U.S. hockey last night. So Trump is 0 for 2. Supported Chiefs, they lost. Supported USA and trolled Canada. Remember, Levitt said, we look forward to USA beating the 51st state of America. And Canada said, okay, overtime 3-2. Where are the wins, Danielle? Show me the wins.
You know, I don't know. But here is the thing that we will close out with today. Can you pull up Chris Cluey's Speaking of Hockey?
All right. You want to give a real quick shout out to Chris Cluey, who he was?
Yes. So he is a former NHL
kicker.
Oh, NFL. So not hockey at all.
Daniel's very good at WNBA.
WNBA, I'm on it, folks. So he is a former player for the NFL for the Vikings and is just activist. He is on it. He went before city council, but where?
LA, Huntington. Hardcore right-wing bed in LA.
Yes. And yes, he was arrested, but Waj, play the video.
And this is because the all right-wing hardcore council wants to put a plaque in front of a library, Maga, and they thought they'd be really clever. It's not MAGA, Make America Great Again, but it's like another acronym. So they want to put a MAGA plaque there. And this is what Chris Cluey, former NFL kicker, had to say.
Oh no, it's not going to play.
No,
let's try
again. Oh, it's so
sometimes, good. I don't know. Sometimes it glitches. Nope, it's not going to play.
Oh, so good. So real quick, is 1 minute, and he talked about what MAGA really represents, and he talked about everything we've said, and then he caps it off by literally calling them Nazis. And then he says, now, very nicely, he goes, now I'm going to engage in the time-honored tradition of civil disobedience. And what he did is he put down his paper and he walked very calmly towards the city council. You're not supposed to. He didn't really walk towards them. He like kind of took 2 steps and then they just bum rushed him and arrested him. And I will say about Chris Cluey, he's been on it for many years. I don't know if you know this, Danielle, but he was a Minnesota Vikings kicker. In 2012, before it was popular, he came out for LGBTQ rights and same-sex marriage while the NFL was cracking down. And lo and behold, then he got traded. And then the next year he ended up on the Raiders. And surprise, surprise, his career then ended. Everyone says it's because he was blackballed for standing up for gay rights. So where there are Butkers and Bosas, be Kaepernicks and Clueys.
Yeah. And, and again, folks, as we close out today, and I apologize that sometimes there's a glitch and the videos don't play, but people are protesting. Folks are gathering across the country. In some places, like in New York right now, that is colder than Alaska, according to weather reports and climate reports. But 5501 movement, indivisible, people are gathering. And so here, spontaneous protests against Trump and Musk erupt across the U.S. People are outraged by statements made by Donald Trump and notably Elon Musk as well. The marches were accompanied by chants like "No Kings on President's Day" and "Elon Musk must go." The largest demonstrations took place in Boston, Florida, folks, Florida, and California. There have been spontaneous protests that have been put together that are taking over Tesla dealerships. And as I've been following all week long, Tesla stock, I don't know where it is right now, but has been continuing to tank. This is a protest that happened along F Street in Washington, D.C. So it's to say, nope, because it's not, it's like once one video won't play, none of them will play. So, it's to say that as all these bad things are happening, and they are terrifying, and they are exhausting, and they are built to overwhelm. The point being is that this is the time when we link arms. This is the time when we find community. This isn't the time when it's like, what can I be doing and where can I be showing up? Indivisible.org is a fantastic site that you can put in where you are, and then you can get organized. And choose how you show up and where. There are town halls that are happening. Congress is at a session right now. So I suggest that you pay your members a visit, right? Call their offices and say, where is my town hall meeting? But this is the time. This is the time. Buildingmovement.org, another great site that offers up who am I in this moment? Am I a weaver? Am I an innovator? Am I a narrator? Who am I in this moment? Please, folks, take breaks so that you don't have a breakdown, but this is the time to find out your voice, your passion, and your purpose in slowing down this train.
And survival is victory, folks. Listen, the baseline is if we survive it, we win. So first and foremost, we have to survive. And as Danielle said, in order to survive, you have to take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your financial health. You have to take care of your loved ones, your family, take care of your local community, create the bulwark in your local community to protect yourself, to not just protect yourself from what's happening and is about to happen, but to also grow and resist and then expand outward and link arms, as Danielle said, to these other pockets, right, that are happening spontaneously, like Danielle said, Boston, LA, Illinois, Florida. It's going to grow. It's going to grow because I think we're at that point now, and it happened much sooner than I thought, Danielle. I thought it would be 6 months. I thought it would be like June, July, but I think it's going to be April when the tide shifts. Too much too soon. This is what happens when you have incompetent, insecure, arrogant people in power. They overplay their hands and they trip over themselves. And I believe they're gonna, like you said, Danielle, I love that Spider-Man meme. It's already happening. You see Bannon attacking Musk. You see these Congress people who are running for re-election attacking Trump. Our job, let them fight. We unite.
Oh, I love that, Waj. Say that again.
Let them fight. We unite.
And that's, we struggle sometimes here, friends, on finding good news, finding where we can land so that you all don't feel insane, frankly, and that you don't feel defeated. And so again, if marching is not your thing, protesting is not your thing. I loved the person in the comment that said that they were disabled, so they organized virtually. There is a way for everyone and for everybody, right, to be able to get involved. I tell you, also supporting independent media like us here, like this channel, liking.
How many subscribers do you have, Danielle?
I have 14,500 and some odd. Would love for 15. Us to get to 15 and then smash 20 and continue to go. So if you have not liked, if you have not subscribed and hit the subscribe button, please do subscribe, share these shows, like and comment. It helps the algorithm. It helps us get in as many people's feeds as possible. So please do continue. And I appreciate every single person that does, as well as all of the donations that come in. We appreciate every single dollar, and it goes to helping us create the kind of thoughtful, truth-based content that you all deserve. And again, Waj has an incredible Substack, The Left Hook, where you can go for free and support his Substack. Sorry, I'm trying to put up yours, and I keep having a problem.
And Danielle just started one as well, the
Yes.
Damn Digest. So check that out. Like a fool, and my dad just sits there and shakes his head every day. I've kept everything for free because I don't believe in paywalls. So I'm at the mercy of people's kindness and generosity. And much like the Danielle Moodie show, and much like democracy-ish, we want this content to be spread to everyone. And I know everyone is struggling. Some people have a few bucks, some people don't. So since we're terrible capitalists, we keep everything for free. And so we truly rely upon a community. It's a community-based endeavor. And the $1, the $5, the $10, the $50 for my Substack, for Danielle's Substack, for this show is literally how we survive. We don't take corporate money. We don't take money from billionaires. That allows us to be independent and free. And, yeah, we might not have as much money, but it's worth it in the long run. We'll build it up. We'll build it up from the grassroots. That will be a much more meaningful, powerful community. And we'll get there. We'll get there sooner than people think. But one thing that will never, ever happen, and this is why it's important to have independent media, we will never bend the knee to a king. We will never kiss the ring. And we will keep it 100%, whether it's the Democrats, Republicans, MAGA, kings, queens, fascists here or abroad. We'll take them all on for the sake of truth, for the sake of freedom, justice, equality, and for the sake of the people.
Thank you for listening to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat, and I went an entire hour without doing a Nazi salute.
I know. Go figure. We will be back next week, dear friends. So do keep your eye on our schedule. I will say, which Waj does not know, but we cannot be live on Monday because I have a conflict. But I will be sure we will be putting out videos. So do follow the schedule. So make sure that you subscribe so that you get our notifications. Be well, friends. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. We'll see you next week.